this one. Tim Wilson's election night voting party, where it is becoming clear that the votes are not falling as they hoped and that the seat is lost and all these staffers have lost their jobs.
Just looking up there for the scores, got a couple yet to come in. I can see the respective judges hard at work on their personal display attachments. And we have the scores in. We have a commended with a 75. And Mel, I'm going to ask you just to make a quick comment, if you would.
Yeah, thank you. The subjects don't seem to quite align with the description. I actually thought they were, interested and in wonderment, and I'm not seeing the disappointment in their faces. So it's just a little disconnected to that.
Okay, thank you. Next print, please. Maybe they were happy about not being re-employed. I'm not. We have a 79, and we've got two people. We're quite close, so I'm going to challenge it because I'm looking at it and I think it should be in the semi-finalist range. That's my starting point. There are a few little technical issues there that I can see people are going to look at, but I'm looking at reportage, I'm looking at getting a message across, and I think the gesture or the timing, the posing of the four little kids together, that to me is the key. And so I would commend you to discuss and maybe consider bring your points up a couple. Bill.
I will speak in support of this. It's the kind of picture that Australian newspapers used to run. They don't do it much anymore. It's human interest, it's the human condition, it's not news. But it's a lovely human moment seen well by a practiced photographer who knows how to compose, who knows how to use light, and so forth. My only technical suggestion would be maybe a slightly tighter crop on the left-hand side, but those branches that hold the action below it are really an important part of the composition, and the body language is great.
Did you want to have a chat yet?
Pretty much just what Bill said. I think it's been handled beautifully, and I would have just cropped in a little on that left-hand side to hold me right where I need to be for a little longer. But I'm in support too. Okie doke. Anybody wish to countermand? Ask you to rescore. You're all free to rescore completely.
Thank you. We've moved into the semi-finalist range. We have a score of 81. Next print. Thank you. Just about in judge land, I was going to sort of go over there. You've got to sit back.
No caption to assist us here?
There's no caption.
We have a 76 commended image. Who shall I ask? Carol, yeah. Keep those microphones handy.
Well, I put it in the award range, or the semi-finalist.
Yep.
Semi-finalist.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I gave it
My apologies, Carol. I have given you a hard job because you did put it in the semi-finalist.
well-
The number's the wrong way around. I thought I was being smart. I should have been asking Bill.
Okay, well,
but
you
now
know.
you're there.
Oh,
Please,
you thought you were
please
being
give-
smart. That was your first mistake, Peter. Sorry. Yeah. So sorry. I have known Peter for a very long time. He knows
Point taken,
how I
but,
mean it. Yes.
you're-
Okay. So. I just thought, what a great, well-seen image. The three elements work really well together, and the simplicity of it. The red stop light. She's stopping and she's looking at the image, and I just thought it was, composed well, simple, and telling a story.
Okay.
So it had all the elements that I think would put it into the semi-finalist range.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the next print, please. My apologies, Carol. I have the numbers up there, and I'm sort of trying to transpose them. I've got to flip them around, and I'm spatially challenged, obviously, at the moment.
All right. There's a description for this one. Trenton, New Jersey. Cannon fire is a common sight in the streets on Christmas Day as the town celebrates Washington's famous victory over the British.
Too much information. We have an average of 73. And I think what the photographer has achieved here is the right timing when it comes to the cannon going off, but it's the actual expressions, I think, behind that don't support that moment. And I guess that's what Cartier-Bresson was talking about, when the decisive moment is more than just a moment, it's when all the different elements come together. Next print, please. Which means that photographer might have had to shot a lot of those cannons and might not have much hearing left. What? Yeah.
There's a description for this one. French company Gratte-Ciel's performance of Place des Anges at Wome Adelaide, March 2018.
We have a commended at 75. Emily, I'm going to ask maybe you just to have a quick comment.
I think it's a professional image that's been executed very well. You've held us in the frame beautifully. I would just consider your foreground a little bit, perhaps in leading us in there. Exceptional use of the frame.
Okay, that's right.
Sorry.
Yeah. And maybe just a little bit more detailed in on the floating cherub. Okay, thank you. Next print, please. That's right. And Emily, I'm going to move you out. I'm going to bring Christopher in. And I'm mindful we've got to move a few other judges around as well. Is there a caption? Yep, there's a caption.
Yep. The description for this, Greek Orthodox Easter, Darwin. Parishioners attend church, and once Christ is risen, bells begin ringing. All chant, and the priest, along with the altar boys, run around the church, flowing the flowers from the epitaph in which Jesus was laid to rest.
Okie doke. And we have a commended image with an average score of 70, I'm going to guess 3. There we go. Not too bad, am I? I think with the photographer, there's a great moment being captured and there's an awful lot happening. The priest, though, is a little bit caught behind the foliage, etc. There's an awful lot of other stuff happening in the background where my eye is being dragged away, and so maybe just by tonally changing the image you could help, but perhaps it's also a matter of timing and just camera angle just to get into that position a little bit more. But commended image, well done. Next print, please.
The description on this print, normally a sea of suits, a lone office worker exits the Guoco Tower, businesses... Hang on, I can't read that. I'll start again. Normally a sea of suits, a lone office worker exits the Guoco Tower. Businesses implement their business continuity plans during the early stages of COVID-19.
And our streamings has probably just closed down because we've said COVID and it's fake news, so it'll stop it from going to Facebook. I'd bless you, but I'm not qualified. We have a semi-finalist with a score of 80. And Mark, a quick comment.
Yeah, I think this is an exceptionally well-printed image, but it's even better seen, and it communicates exactly what the caption wants it to, and I can see it being used like, basically front page news. It's great.
Thank you. Next print, please.
There's no caption for this one.
Sorry? So we have a commended image at a average of 76. So that, Mark, you're right in on the middle there. I mean, it's a great nose pick. You can't argue about that. And isn't that what big sisters or brothers do to when they're looking after their little ones? I mean, what else does the photographer need to do to move from commended to semi-finalist?
Yeah, look, I think just waiting out those moments a little bit further. I love the whole composition, and I think maybe just kind of working on getting a point where the symmetry really falls into play, because it's so based in the thirds, and you've got so many geometric elements coming in. That leg is just kind of a little distracting there. So maybe the next frame along or something similar would have helped.
Okey-doke, thank you. You'll have to be really quick.
I will,
Brenda.
very quick. Contrast. It's very contrasty. It's a soft subject. I would have thought less contrast might
Fantastic.
have benefited this.
You can do quick, short ones too. Thank you, Bill. Next print, please. Can we? Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay, next print, please. Right, I got it.
The description on this one is Cry Club 2021.
Oh, we have a 79, so a commended. We're very close, aren't we? So maybe we should have a chat, because otherwise we're just going to go for an in and out. So let's have a little bit of a talk about it. I'm going to start with you, Courtney.
I found this really compelling. Just the pose, what it is that the subject is doing with the hands, and just the timeliness of this capture. If I was going to give it any critique, it would be to wait a little bit longer for something from that drummer. A better facial expression there would have gotten this, would have made this stronger. But when I look at this, I just really love the depth that I see in it. I just find the curl of the microphone between her legs, the pose, the way that she's hanging back like that. I just find it really a compelling image, stronger than I think it should bump up a level for sure.
Chris?
We've really got to realise there's a differentiation between stadium rock and club rock. This is club rock. The whole difference is nothing's perfect. Stadium Rock's manicured. So basically stage lighting would just light that person in the front. If you look at the classic punk rock photos of the late 1970s, it's the fact that the stage performer is going off and the people behind him are going, oh God, they're in our band. And that's what I get here, is the person's trying to ignore the fact that their performer is just going Mick Jagger on them. And I just think that's a really great comedy of club rock as opposed to stadium rock.
Bill?
Actually, I think just the opposite, Christopher. I think, you know, the really memorable pictures of this sort, and there are many, I mean, think Iggy Pop for a start, the really memorable pictures of this sort, everything's going nuts. So we have a very active right-hand side of the picture here and a very passive left-hand side. Why not just show us the active part of it? Because everything on the left-hand side is just dragging me away from the action.
Yeah, I'm going to put my tuppence worth in and say that, you know, I could see this in an editorial context where you're putting the type on the left-hand side and it's not so important. And if we're looking at the documentary side, I see it as quite strong. So anyway, but yeah, I don't get a vote. Okay, we're comfortable to rescore? I challenged, so you can all rescore. Are we going to go and have a 79 next time again? All right, so we're going to be in or out for the next one. All right, we had a chat, we tried. Next print, please.
The description for this one says still connected. We have a semi-finalist with a score of 81. So obviously the judges are appreciating the moment, the timing, the framing, and the way that the subject, that the viewer's eye is focused in on the subject. Well done. Next print, please. Yeah, we've got different picture up.
The print is correct.
Oh, the print is correct? Okay. So, judge the print. What are the blue coats done? I'm not sure.
But we don't know if there's a caption, do we?
We don't know if there's a caption. That's a good point. Christopher?
That's it there, is it? No, yeah, but that was that one. Oh, so that one still comes up. Yeah, it's still there. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, it's just...
Is there a caption?
Yep. The caption for this one, a woman who works with children with breathing difficulties becomes a mother to a baby with breathing difficulties. After many months, doctor appointments and sleepless nights, mum can enjoy her healthy baby boy.
We have a commended image with an average score of 74. The caption, I'm not quite too sure, really helped us in that there was an awful lot of information in that caption, and then we come along to the photograph and it could be of so many different things. Looking at the photograph around the area, I like the fact that it's very high key, which is in keeping with the beneficial outcome that the lady and her child have, but I think maybe too bright in certain areas, and maybe a slightly different camera angle, a different gesture to better represent that caption. Next print, please.
No caption on this one.
We have a semi-finalist with a score of 80. I think the judges are responding to the juxtaposition of the two young kids and in the context of the temple. As a suggestion, I wonder whether just darkening down the top a little bit just to bring the eye, and maybe the bottom as well, just to bring the eye into the key subjects. But who am I to say? Semi-finalist, well done. Next print, please.
The description on this one is Confidence Man Dream Machine 2022.
We have a semi-finalist with a score of 80, I'm guessing here, but that's correct, yep. Yeah, if you like, you may. Challenge. Courtney's up higher on 88, so every point matters, so I'll give you the floor.
This would be there's so many things in this that I think come together to make this such a strong image. The lines of like the tops of the crowd's heads going in that direction, in line with the arm coming out and the drink spilling out of the can, and that really interesting shape that's then curling around. Such a timely capture. Again, then with the audience and their facial expressions, everything. The spotlight under his arm is a distraction for me. That pulls me away a tiny bit. But apart from that, I love the contrast and the black behind him, and then his skin and his facial expression, just everything that's going on. I just think this is strong.
Mark?
Yeah, look, there was a lot of elements that were pulling me past the point of action because it's such an incredible capture in the foreground, and it's been distracted by the highlights of the girl in the bottom, kind of just off centre to the left there. Then the chopping through, the awkward chop through of the shoe. And I know these things are hard to control in these types of environments, but when we're placing it on the edge of the frame with a similar tone to the paper, it does become a distraction that pulls me out. I really enjoy that starburst coming through. I enjoy the action, but there are a few little tonal changes that could have been made to improve the emphasis on the main subject.
Christopher?
Recalling the really successful Rennie Ellis photos, the photo is not the main subject, but the reaction that it causes. And the reason there are people on that far right is they're in shock all the way through to people who are absolutely in the moment, to a person who's giggling on the left. So I think I had to work out why you included those people. Why didn't you simply crop the right-hand side and go for the action? But it's actually a Rennie Ellis. It's the audience reaction that's the photo.
Okie doke. Okay, right of reply.
Look, the crop on the shoe, that does not bother me at all. I am just so pulled in to the audience, and I feel like the fact that she's so bright there, that's not a distraction to me at all. That actually just makes me look further and deeper into the image, into the audience there and their expressions.
Thank you. If you'd like to rescore. Courtney, if you'd re-enter your score, of course the same, 88. $83, semi-finalist. Thank you. Extra couple of points. All right, so Carol, we're going to ask you to stand, and we're asking Emily to come back in. No, I'll put you in the next print. I'm just doing what I'm told. No, I'm just more. And mindful, we're up to print 19, so we're probably going a little bit slowly. So if we could speed up our conversation, pretty please, that'd be great. Is there a caption?
No caption for this one.
We have an 85, a very solid semi-finalist. Very consistent scoring. I'm looking at the image up here to start with, and it had the Australian Photographic Prize logo up there, and I come along and I'm looking at this, and she doesn't look very happy about it, but I realise it's actually a Fox News something. That explains perhaps her expression, which is a good thing. But good storytelling, and I could see the judges were all very entertained or enthused by the way they observed the prints or the images up there, the composite. I'll get it right in a minute. Next print, please.
There's no caption for this one.
We have a 79 commended, but I know that Bill is going to put his hand up. You're on 85, Bill. I'll be intrigued because what is the subject?
This is a curated version of how the other 80% live. I think it's a travel image, possibly a found image, but it indicates the cramped, sometimes fortress-like conditions under which a lot of humanity actually exists, and that ghostly figure behind the grill in the doorway adds the human touch that it actually needed to tell that story. So I feel there is a narrative in here that we need to unlock a little bit more. No pun intended.
Would a caption perhaps have helped in this occasion?
Maybe, maybe not. It's a pretty graphic image.
I just see because the face is very, very sublime. I'm just asking because I look at it from a graphic point of view and I think it's incredibly strong, and then I look at the documentary category and I guess I'm just trying to understand it. But I can see the face and your summation.
That's just my
really
interpretation
helped.
of it. But the door is open. Again, no pun intended. The door is open to interpretation of this.
Yeah. Okay. So who else have we got would like to have a chat? Christopher?
I'm with Peter. Until you mentioned there was a face there, I actually thought this is just pure travel architecture. I'm going up because now I can see the face and the story becomes, I won't say obvious, but it really needed some stimulation of a caption.
Yeah, that could possibly help. Anybody else? Bill, right of reply?
I think that human touch is the key to this. Without it, it's just an architectural picture, a vernacular architecture picture. But this has a human story to tell, and I think it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Next, okay, if you'd like to rescore, Bill, you hold yours at 85. Well done. We have a semi-finalist with an average score of 80, waiting for the computer, 1. I was going to say 81. Next print, please. Yep. I don't want to say 81 and then it just goes 80, or if I say 80, so my mathematics isn't quite right. So that's out there in video land. If you're wondering why I'm hesitating, it's because I'm hesitating. Mark? Yeah. Oh, you're in. Okay, we've got a semi-finalist with a score of 80, and all quite similar in scores. It's interesting because when it first comes around, you sort of look, oh, there's so many things that are wrong with it. But it is that banality of the image. It's like the photographer's not really there. It's just the capture, but it's all in there. And I think that's what we're all relating to, is those wonderful gestures. At least the grass will be well looked after. Okay, next print, please.
There's no caption on this one.
So we have a 77 commended, where I guess the challenge that we've got is that, being in Australia, we've seen a lot of bushfire photographs. I love the verdant greens. There's the leading through. I just wonder, though, in terms of the context, whether it's more of an art piece than a documentary. What is the point beyond that? A caption might have helped us, but commended, and compositionally as a landscape, I certainly love it a lot. Next image, please. Next one. So I'm just waiting for the score. Okay, so we've got a 78, a commended image, and a quick comment from, I think it should be you, Mark. You're on 78.
Yeah, look, really gorgeous print. The interaction there, I think, could have been a little bit stronger between the boys. They're having a great time, the good old laugh, but the interruption of the hand between the two faces it just creates a little bit too much of a disconnect.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to do a couple of judge changes. If Matt would come in, please, from Courtney. I don't mind whichever way you do it. Yep, Mel, take over from Bill. Bill, you're out. Who's the rose? Okay, next print, please.
The caption for this one is COVID's sorrow.
Okay, well, we have a 81, a semi-finalist. Christopher, I'll get you to just make a quick comment, observation. It's a brave image for a documentary category, but suitably rewarded.
It's the water wall at the art gallery, I'd say, and they've just combined the two elements beautifully, and the caption's perfect for it.
Thank you. Next print, please.
There's a description for this one. Sorry. Dad handed babe to mum for the first time, supporting baby while she held him, and baby's first movement was to reach out and touch mum.
So we have an 83, a strong semi-finalist. Did you want to make a comment? Sure.
Oh my gosh, you have totally tugged at all of my lady feelings, and this is just an excellent capture, an excellent moment, and the caption 100% works.
Thank you.
Well done.
Next print, please. Well done, Emily. You feeling okay? You're up to the next one.
Love it, love it.
This next one's a little bit different.
Sure it is. That's what I love. Is there a caption with this one?
Is there a caption with this one? They're having a little look, but I don't think there is a caption because they're not actually responding to me. No one listens to me. It's just like being at home.
This is a green frog I rescued who I found in my pantry battered after a stormy Darwin night. To make him feel at home, I brought the outdoors into him with fresh water and familiar foliage. Being a photographer, I took the opportunity to document him as he moved around. Then I realised... Oh, no. Then I released him just 3 days later, once he was strong and hoppy again.
We have a commended image with 78, and I think the light and the tonality of the image is really strong. Not quite too sure whether we need quite as much of the foliage on the left, etc., and maybe an angle perhaps more engaging with the frog. See, we're just sort of semi behind. I know it's side on, but maybe a little bit more frontal would be a bit more engaging. But it's a great profile, and I should know about profiles. Next print, please.
There's no caption.
We have a commended with a score of 74, I'm going to guess. Yep, I'm getting better. I think the moment is great, and there's a lot of, it's a free-flowing sort of moment. I wonder, though, whether the judges would prefer there to be a little bit more print quality. We're certainly losing it up in the highlights there. Maybe the choice of angle, maybe that just that timing, the gesture, but a wonderful moment captured. Next print, please. I'm speeding people up. If you'd like to talk.
The description for this one is residents of the Far East Plaza look out from their balconies as the Singapore Civil Defence Force conduct their annual sounding of the island-wide sirens.
Okay, we have a 78, a commended, and I have Emily bouncing off her seat on 88, wanting to have a chat.
I really want to talk about this. It reads. You read from the top left to the bottom right. And the reason I love this so much is because there's a full stop at the end. That little chair just stops us right there. We've got little moments that happen the whole way through. Yes, there's a shadow on the left-hand side, but that just also brings us to that pause at the end. I would strongly urge you to come up into semi-finalist range for that reason.
Matt.
I'm looking at all of those things that are in it. Hold on, I'll put my seeing eye goggles back on again. I'm looking at all those things that I'm seeing in there, but for me, it's sort of the slight too much disconnection of the people. Some people look like they're interested in what's going on. Some people look like they're coming out feeling like they're disturbed by what's going on. You're annoying me, please go away, stop doing that. So it's, if there's more attention at what's going on and one person not looking, or no attention, and there's just too many of those different things going on.
Sure, Mel?
But I think that absolutely captures the human experience. We all react, and especially, I'm assuming, in lockdown, people reacted so differently in so many ways, and I think we can see that in this image.
Further to what Mel...
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Who's the panel chair here?
I apologise.
Yeah, that's right. Mark?
Yeah, look, I can really appreciate everything that's going on. The symmetry and the architectural elements are fantastic, but the actual fidelity of the crispness of the image, so there's something going on with either the quality of the lens or the shutter speed that's been chosen that is lacking the punch and crispness that we need to really pull all those little figures out at you in print. The distraction of the shadow and the contrast, I love that you've pointed that out as the full stop, but it still really detracts me given the symmetry, the overall symmetry of the rest of the image.
Now you may continue with your right of reply.
Thank you. I think the tone and what you've just spoken about, Mark, I think it's the banality of the environment, and that holds me there. And each little person or the character in this story that we're reading, with the full stop, with no one in it at the end. I think this has been seen very well and is worth coming up into that next category.
Thank you. Judges, if you could rescore. Thank you for that invigorated conversation. Emily, you stay on 88 and the others can rescore. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, yep, thank you. And we've got 1, 2, 3, so it's certainly going to be there. A semi-finalist at 81. Good conversation. And because you didn't agree, Mark, you're off. Carol's on. Next print, please. No caption? Yeah. Christopher, no caption. We have a commended image at 73. Did you want to make a comment?
Just a quick comment to help the photographer improve it. A moving subject is really hard to capture. A moderately slowly moving subject is even harder to capture to find that point of focus, and we've just slightly missed it in the subject's face.
Thank you. Next print, please.
The caption reads, "The love of a new baby that intercepted the fears of the pandemic that washed over the world." The caption reads, "The love of a new baby that intercepted the fears of the pandemic that washed over the world."
We have a commended image with an average of 76. Well, no, you're not allowed to, but I could. So I'll challenge for you. Christopher, you may speak. So I'm challenging the image. I guess since I am challenging it, I like the clarity and the cleanness of the image. I wonder, though, whether the little baby is too hot, a little bit too light. I just wonder whether the tonal control is there. But as listening to the caption, that's why I'd like to give you the opportunity to have a chat.
The caption is male fear. And that's what I'm getting here. The woman's head tilt is so in love with the object she's created. So in love. He is so static because this is changing his life forever. He doesn't have the passion she has. Look, it's just an exposure issue, but to me, I think you've captured a moment which is the human condition perfectly. And that's what documentary's about. The human fear that males have when that first child arrives and they realise the love their wife has for this object.
Matt? If we could have another male perspective on this.
Another male perspective. It's on, thank you, it's on. It's some aperture control, some depth of field. I find that background just peeking in too much, being a bit too distracting. It's bright, yes, we could tone that roof down, but just shallow that depth of field out and single.
Solve that.
Yeah, that will give us a lot of resolution in that image.
Thank you. Did either of the fairer sex want to make a comment on Christopher's comment?
I think we just need to see the baby because the expressions are fantastic on the parents, and I love the way Christopher's interpreted the story. Just need to see a bit more of the baby, whether, the baby was turned the other way. I know, it's documentary. You can't pose the baby, but, just bringing down the exposure so we could see a bit more detail.
Thank you. If you would all like to rescore. Thank you, judges. We still have a commended image with an average of 79, I'm going to guess. No, 78. So we're very close. But thanks for the comment. And thank you, Christopher. You make me look at things differently. I love the way that everybody does bring different perspectives to it because I see what you're talking about. Next to print, please. And the way my life was changed. I just wanted to know why it wasn't changing the woman's life as well. Maybe they've got 9 months to work that out. I don't know. That's right, that's true. No caption?
The caption for this one is 2019, carefree, blissful summer days. An unseen enemy has just landed on our shores. We were unaware that life would never be the same again.
It's okay, Matt, I'm not looking at your hairstyle, I'm looking at the screen behind you, it's okay. We have a commended image with 73. Okay. I think I like the expression. I think the expression is good, and even with the caption, it's helpful. But I think there needs to be a little bit more in the photograph itself to bring us up into the next range. But yeah, certainly technically it's great. Maybe just need to consider the category that we're in. Next print, please.
There's no caption for this one.
We have a semi-finalist at 80. Come on, computer, hurry up, catch up. 83. Going to guess round about that, doesn't matter. I'm going to challenge it. I think there should be a finalist. Well, look where we are in history. This is documentary, but documentary doesn't mean it's got to be a cardiobrescent moment. We know that technology and long exposures and what it does. We talk about climate change, and what more do we need to say? How does this image fail in any way to get across the most important issue that we're dealing with? Judges? Mel?
Okay, so I scored it at 88, and I think it's not enough. This is such a decisive moment, and the smoke or whatever the fumes are coming out of the stacks are so well separated from the background. It's just doom and gloom. The tonal range is perfect for the image. It's just so well seen.
Emily, do you want to chat?
I'll admit that I was probably a little harsh on this image. I guess I was conflicted for a moment in whether I was the documentary that I was seeing, but I've been swayed already in that commentary that's already been made. So thank you.
Christopher, yep.
It's fantastic. You've pulled out the neutral density filter and given us a long exposure, which has basically dragged the emotion across the landscape. The only thing I was in fear of, it really should have turned the other way. You really should have given us a panorama, because I think there's a human being in there. And am I guessing at it? I'd love it to be obvious that there is a human being caught up, probably looking at the landscape, but not looking to the left.
Can't see him. It would be a good idea, but it's not there, maybe.
Doesn't need to be.
Doesn't need to be. Yeah.
It's too small.
Yes, too small. Okay, if any other comments, we're good, because I'll let you, you're all free to rescore, and I'm not trying to push you one way or the other, but I've made my point. Okay, thank you. We know we're going to be up there. 90. We've got a finalist. And you know what everybody's going to say? Bloody Eastway, landscape photographer. Anyway, next print, please. It's gone cold again, hasn't it?
The caption on this one
Caption,
is...
sorry?
The caption on this one is, a prep student abandons home learning at 10:01 a.m. on the 104th day of Melbourne Metro Lockdown 2020. Another 158 cumulative lockdown days followed. Abandons home learning.
Well, I think we're going to have a little conversation here. We have a 85 as a semi-finalist, but we have a range of scores from 78 all the way up to 92. So shall we start with 92, Matt? Or, yeah?
Yes, we can start with 92, Matt. I went very bravely with this image because it's, the caption absolutely supports it. As a newspaper documentary photographer for my first decade in having a camera in my hand, it's dishevelled, it's desperate already with knowing what's coming ahead. We don't need to see the subject's head, we can see the subject's body. There's so many little touches of elements in here that brings this image up into being that finalist. The lines, the crisscross diagonals, everything. It's just so beautifully seen, captured and delivered to us.
Christopher?
To me, it's just overlit, and a percentage of the real estate is devoted to something which could have been so contributing. Imagine any office worker who's going through this, any child that's going through homeschooling, they would abandon the task that they're supposed to be on, but that table is where the task should be left. And it's taking up too much real estate. There's a simple bit of power cord to give you an idea of abandoned schooling, but really just a hint of something on what is almost a quarter of the page.
Emily? Yep.
In that top category, and I was probably a little shy, I'm listening to Matt, absolutely, because the more I look at this image and the more I think about that caption, actually the more emotional I get. And exceptional visual and emotional impact is what we're looking for in a finalist image. I'm not worried about that empty table because he's holding a pencil, it's broken in pieces. I'm assuming it's a he, sorry. It's held and broken into pieces. He's drawing on the mat, not a piece of paper. And destructive child, all of those emotions that he's going through or the child is going through. And you've got that hint. You've got some geographic, you've got some shapes happening in here that just hold us right in that place. You've got the organic form, you've got the scene, the setting, the tone of this image just holds me right there. Oh my God, you've got to come up. It's bringing back all the feels for me of exactly what it was like.
Okay. Quick right of reply.
Quick right of, okay. The overlighting, that's the environment that we're in. That's the environment that you lived in, homeschooling, home working, whatever. The lighting just contributes to the environment that we're overly lit bright, and my head is under a table. I can't do this anymore.
Thank you. Judges, if you'd like to rescore, I think you've got to stay where you are. 90. If you could re-enter, though. You've got to re-enter it for the system. I was just working out whether I challenged or whether you had, but you were able to. Well, I figure we're going to have another finalist. Yep. 90. Okay. Thank you, judges. Next print, please.
What was the score?
90. Well, I'll try and keep the crowd down a little bit quieter next time so we can hear the score. So there's 25,000 out there, or it could be 26 now, I think, 26,000.
That's not the same.
We've got a different image on screen. Wait on, hold on. Yep.
One moment.
One moment. Computer says, please wait. So for all of you who are just wondering why the temperature has dropped, I complained because I'm just back from the Arctic and I've been there for 30 days and 30 nights and it was just too warm for me here. So, yeah, I just wanted to show off a little bit where, that sort of stuff. We've got the wrong print at the moment. Oh, we've got
There's
that
no
right again.
caption on
Okay.
this one.
Yep, there is no caption. How's everybody going from the judging panel? Anybody need to move on? No? Who's interested in the back there? You guys mind, Judge? How are we going with the scores? Computer never lies, Christopher. Carol, computer never lies.
That's okay. I wanted to change my scores. I think that's prophetic. I think that is really prophetic. That is really what I wanted to do.
Okay, that'll teach me for hurrying things along. We have an 82 and a semi-finalist, and I have Christopher who is going to challenge.
There you go.
He's putting this into the finalist range. I better have a look at the print and see what he's talking about. The floor is yours.
This is totally successful to me. We've seen previous images hinting at this, but this again is the male condition. Basically, we've got a macho man, a man covered in tattoos, who basically was in a relationship with a woman who they created this child. Now the room's divided. His attention, just having the degree of focus on that bitter eye. This is his Sunday morning and it's evaporated. His Sunday morning was bedroom gymnastics, and now it's about a mother's care and the beauty of that care for the child. The way we all ran into the room and jumped into bed on mum and dad's bed and all that. But we had no idea what we were doing to their relationship. And this is a child who's innocently doing that, has just innocently got mum's attention. And mum's expression is almost to tell him that. I think this is gold. I mean, this is real. And the subdued colours say this isn't romantic. This isn't Sunday morning. This is a documentary style. And the fact that a photographer was allowed into a room to record something which probably was meant to be peaceful and is actually so revealing, this is certainly gold.
Matt?
Yes, Pete's looking at me. Christopher, that's fabulous because I read this completely the other way. I read this as husband at the back, looking over his wife, who's looking at the child. He's making sure that he's taking care of her and she's taking care of the child. That's the way I'm looking at this. They're all caring for one another on a morning in bed. We're all looking at each other. We're coddling together. We're separated, yes, but he's still rolling over, looking at and making sure that his family is being taken care of. My little detractions or my little improvements in it in our reportage is we can crop that little element out of that peaky window on the left. We can crop that little element out on the top right that's just a little bit distracting. Other than that, that's what I'm looking at and seeing reading in it.
Mel, who would like to have a chat?
I think.
Oh, how good is it when we can talk about a photo far out? I was almost in tears for a minute there, listening to both of you guys. Your interpretation of this story, I was too harsh. The only reason I think I'm being held back from going into that top category is those minor elements that Matt discussed. But, oh my gosh, all of the feels, yep, I can, yep.
Can I throw a little accent in there that we go back and look at Renaissance painting and the way that they use colour and light to lead the eye around the composition, and I find that my eye is being taken up here and back and around, and that they are actually pretty important pointers for the way we're reading it. I just want to know why the photographer was there. Okay, so we're ready to go? Or
Okay, let's get to Peter's point, which is so relevant. One of the brightest parts is the background. The dullest, sapping moment is the light on the skin tones. It's so sapping. It's not romantic lighting. It's not the holiday brochure. It is really shadowy, sapping, and especially of the mother. The most tender moment is actually the most desaturated, dull lighting. He's naked in the bed. She's got her mum clothes on. The idea that you've actually got through the choice of f-stop. Look, there's some very clever photographers here who've used f-stop to actually give you fear, because when you get something that's out of focus to a point, you can actually enlarge its emphasis because it goes blurrier. And his right eye, back eye, is actually enlarged. He's just in shock. He's so angry.
Okay, that's the point made. If you would all rescore, please. It is great having these conversations. It's now 2:30. Oh dear. So wonderful to see a good score. 90, a finalist. Next print, please. Okay, yeah, switch over. Yep, sure. Mark, do you want to jump in? I have to say that you guys have different interpretations. I'm going to use your one. Yeah, please.
You're right, though.
Yeah. Whoever's their relationship in the family. The eldest child.
Yeah. Where's my breakfast?
The description for this one reads, octogenarian sprint car racer Robert Buckley, retired engineer, now builds and restores race cars and competes in historic racing events in his 1982 Van Diemen race car.
We have a commended image. As a suggestion, the image is quite frontally lit. There's not necessarily a lot of expression in our subject, and maybe the lighting could be adjusted in post-production just to focus. But I think really I want to know a little bit more about the gentleman, and I'm not getting that from that expression. Next print, please. Is there a caption? Yep.
The caption reads, "Their whole world in their hands."
We have a commended image, professional standard, an average of 74. And I'm just going to suggest that in the way that you print the work, maybe darken down that top windowsill and maybe try and get a little bit of detail in the forearms, etc., so that the eye is led to the baby's face. I mean, the hands are beautifully strong, but well done, commended. Next print, please.
The caption for this reads, "Demonstrators at a school strike rally for action on climate change, Parliament House, Adelaide, 2019.
We have a commended with an average score of 70, hesitation, 3. Matt, what quick comment to maybe just what's perhaps just missing here?
What's missing here at the moment is cropping. We're losing the edge of both of our subjects, left and right. As an editorial photographer, you need to include everything in the frame for your editor, so someone has their job to do so they can crop it, and not you. That's the first tick that you need to do for an editor. And then just their expression. I mean, I know that they're happy to be there so they can be protesting for the world that they're inheriting, but their expressions are just kind of a little bit jarring for the very strong nature of what they're protesting about.
Okay, thank you. Next print, please. I can, but if I want to. Yeah, can I? Yeah, check. No. I can't give it to the judges because they've got to talk quickly. Okay, we've got a commended image with an average score of 76. We do have one person who can commend. Comment. Mark, the floor is yours, but I don't want any hot air, please.
Yeah, look, this is a really dynamic descriptive image of a moment. When we're talking about reportage, we're talking about, going out, being sent out to get something, to tell a story about an event, and it's been handled beautifully. The print is absolutely gorgeous. The control of colour through there, and still being able to maintain the roundness of the face through the, even though those reds are sitting right on the line, there's a high degree of finesse in framing, capture, print, and I think it just needs to be bumped up into that semi-finalist range and be rewarded for what it is.
Looking around for someone to make eye contact with me. Okay, Matt.
Okay, Peter. I take those points on board, Mark. I see those things. The control of colour in there and the saturation in it are really lovely and nicely treated. Looking at the angle, we've got this foreground that we're leading into, which can be a bit distracting, but we're cutting off where the hot air is being blown into. We've lost the top of that little bit of balloon in there, which to me completes the story. I don't need the foreground to read. I want to see where the balloon's going into the sky and coming up to the sky to complete that shape.
Okay. Mark, right over. Oh, yep. Yeah, sure. Yep.
Look, this is the point of action. We know instantly that it's a balloon because we read the basket and the entry of the balloon, and so there's no really real need to include any more of those elements because we're looking at that bright point. This is the grab point of attention. When you go out to jump on a hot air balloon before the sunrise, this is what you're looking at. This is what grabs your attention. This is the dynamic part of what's going on in the scene. The balloons haven't caught the light yet to capture colour, to get vibrant and make that iconic balloon. So I think the inclusion of any more balloon isn't really necessary. I think they've come in to where it needs to be, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Judges, if you'd like to rescore. Mark, if you'd re-enter yours at 84. Thank you. Bill? You can switch over with Christopher after this. Couple. And I haven't seen things change up there, but anyway, it has. 78. So commended. Thank you. Apologies for my hot air comment. Next to print, please.
The caption reads, is the print up? Right. A man is comforted after telling his life story to the crowd at a Black Lives Matter rally. We've got an 83 semi-finalist. I'm going to challenge, just because I want to talk about it, because I was looking at this picture with black rights, and yeah, you sit there and you think, oh, there's a little bit of a highlight on the forehead. He's got glasses on, so I can't see his eyes. And I think, wait on, this is the moment. And where is the communication coming from? It's from that hug. It's from that gesture, that protective nature of that. And I wonder whether we're all being a little bit soft on this, because if you're wanting to say black rights and look at the flag and the positioning, I know that's all orchestrated and we're looking for it, but I'm wondering whether this has not been highly successful and maybe we're just looking at it a little bit simplistically. I'm asking the questions. You guys can answer. Bill, you picked up the microphone.
I'm in the high 80s. This is a piece of quintessential visual communication. There's nothing in the frame that we don't need. It's all there. It's dramatically lit. It's almost like it's spotlit. It's fantastic. And look, it's about the faces, but it's also about these interlocking hands. You know, the strength of these hands, the gesture of the hug around the head and so forth, backed up by the symbol on the flag, it's a very powerful piece of communication. I would really like to see this in the final mix. So I think, like you, I think this is possibly worthy of even being a finalist.
Anybody else like to comment? Mark? Matt, you didn't make eye contact with us enough strongly enough.
Not strongly enough. I've got to go deeper. Okay, I'll go deeper. I totally agree with those elements. I mean, when you're in this sort of situation, camera in hand, it's jostling, it's awkward, and it's hard to get in there to find that image. The hug kind of feels awkward, but you can see how in the awkwardness that it's come, he's wrapped his arms around, he hasn't quite got all the way around, so his head is the place that he's landed. And we don't often see men, middle-aged men, embracing in public, and that's lovely. All of those gestures are really beautiful. My only improvement to the print is the other hand that you've mentioned. We can tonally control that with some brightness and darkness. Bring it, the hand's there, it's obvious something has to be holding it in the air. Bring that hand down a little bit, make that disappear, and then the rest of the elements are playing beautifully together.
Thank you. Yeah. Mark, do you want to have a chat here? And Mel, you can as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. I'm glad I get a chance to talk about this because, when we talk about man hugs, you do the chest out, kind of tap around, this is a hug, this is a family hug. And that's really, really powerful in the public sphere of things. Also, the connection between the roundness of the yellow sun and the flag brings you straight down to where you expect to see those tears and that emotion point, which is guarded and covered by that beautiful circle point of the glasses. So the more that I get to sit with this, the more I realise how much of an important photograph it is. I'm going to be coming up to 90 because I just think it just like...
Just a final comment too. There's some really interesting stuff happening graphically here too. This repetition of circles that goes from the circle with the clenched fist through the paint marks on the face down to his eyeglasses as well. There's this beautiful diagonal that takes you through this image in several ways, not just the posture but also those circles connecting.
Okay, judges, you're all free to rescore, as I was the one who challenged. Looks like we've got ourselves a finalist. Thank you, judges. 91. Next print, please.
The caption on this one reads, "The week before Christmas, Melbourne long-term car park mid-lockdown. Only isolated broken down vehicles remain in what normally would be a full car park. Photographed on film with a vintage Olympus Trip 35 camera."
Well, we're certainly going to have a conversation, aren't we? We have a semi-finalist with a score of 82. Mel's going to challenge.
I certainly am. There are some beautifully seen elements in both images. The flat tire just grabbed it for me. To imagine this against that caption, what a world we live in these days where anything could really happen. I really encourage you to come in and have another look around because it perfectly demonstrates what was going on at that time in what would otherwise be carnage and chaos of being in that airport parking at that time of year. It's crazy.
So, Bill, I'm going to ask you to talk as well.
Thank you. I was much lower than this. You couldn't tell this story with a before and after because standing on the ground like this, you'd just see the cars in the foreground and you wouldn't be able to see them stretching away into the background. So I don't find this particular approach very good in telling this story. From a very practical point of view, when you're sent out to illustrate a story like this, you have to think of all the possible ways you can do it. And for my money, in this case, a drone is the way to tell this story because you hover above the scene and show the emptiness of everything with a few cars punctuating this openness.
But he's at an airport, so he can't put a drone up, Bill. What's he going to do with the image that he's got there? What we've got?
Look, a ground level view of this is not sufficiently effective to tell the story. Even a stepladder would have done better here to go up and get an elevated angle over the car park so that you could see the emptiness stretching away behind that vehicle. I just don't think that this was fully thought through.
Okay.
Would we have...
Mark?
Cool. Look, I can see both sides of this fence really well, and I think I'm going to start with the kids first. The empty sky is necessary because that's part of the story. We're at the airport and there's no planes in the sky because everything's shut down and it's just not happening. So I think the inclusion of the space in the sky has actually been a clever and well thought out approach to the communication of this story. What really held me back was the film stock choice. Like, I want to see it, clean, fresh air for the first time in forever at an airport, and the inclusion of the grain is just a little bit detracting for me. So I'd love to hear a bit more. I don't know whether the narrative is strong enough to get it up as high as you like, but I do really appreciate the story there.
Now you can have a right of reply, Mel.
I actually thought the film stock was complementary to the broken car. It's a broken car park. It's not working. It's old in a sense, and I think that lent itself to that visual story that the photographer's making.
Okay, I'm going to ask you all to rescore. Mel, you'll need to keep your score on 90. And good to have the conversation. So I love panel chairing. I can make comments and not have to make a decision. It's good. Okay, well, we've certainly had some movement at the station. I'm just waiting for the computer to tell me what it is. It's going to be a semi-finalist still, but it's going to have an average score of 84. Well done. Next print, please.
There's no caption on this one.
Saves me thinking something up. I love it. We have a commended image with a score of 72, I'm going to guess. 72, yep. Quick, Matt, you had a suggestion for the photographer?
Photographing into glass, very complicated thing, and it's just a slight missed moment. Our subject is out of focus, even though potentially we're trying to portray the trees and the outside. Our focus could have been better shifted to the hands because the trees are still going to be there.
Okay, thank you. Next to print, please.
The caption reads, "Lockdown in Melbourne. Sitting in public places was not allowed. Victorian College of the Arts, Southbank."
It's not all about you, Emily, you know. It's about me. All about me. Shouldn't say that to men of my age. Oh, we're going to have another. Yeah, we're getting close to the end, and you guys are throwing all of these curveballs at me. But we're not Robinson Crusoes. We've got 2 90s up there, an average of 84. We're going to have a real shindig of a conversation, aren't we? Okay, I'm going to let Mark challenge because he's on 91. Oh, sorry, I'm going to let Matt challenge because he's on 91. Floor is yours.
So beautiful as a scene object. Melbourne is a vibrant city, like all of us know. We love coming down here, seeing the architecture, and the architectural photographers love coming down and looking at all the beautiful, vibrant colours. The straightness of the lines, that crossing line in between it that almost looks like it's superimposed and put in there in post, but it's not. Every element in this image has been thoughtfully included and other elements thoughtfully excluded to deliver us this lovely eye candy.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a Melbourneite to have a comment. Bill?
Well, the fault of this image is what has been excluded, and the key to it is that little shadow up in the top right-hand corner. I fail to see this as reportage. It's a beautiful image. It's very seductive. I love it. It has great impact. But if you really want to tell a story here, it's about the absence of humans. So what you need is the shadow of someone, a human shadow falling across this scene in the same way that the shadow of the banner falls across it. So you either wait or you construct it. It doesn't really matter. As a form of reportage, conveying information, communicating information to readers or viewers, it needs a human element in here to actually tell that story that you want to tell.
Okay. Anybody else like Mark? You're looking at me. Yes. Yeah. Off you go.
Look, I was up in gold as well because I really think that this should be a finalist. There is so much untold human element within this. It's an empty bench which tells the story of the absence of humanity because we're telling the story about lockdown. We've got the ribbon that somebody has had to place up in front of this space to keep people out as well. So as far as a reportage image goes, this is a very high quality comment on the point of humanity at this time and place. And the balance within the print as well is just absolutely gorgeous. The three-dimensionality through the use of perspective, not only of the almost impeccable symmetry of and perspective of the bench coming out from that wall, but then the offset nature of the ribbon cutting across gives it a really high sense of depth. The contrast quality as well, the choice to not over contrast the background in relation to that ribbon adds to the narrative, because it's locking you out, it's locking your eyes out in that foreground. So there are just so many of these things that have come together, and I think this is really deserved of being a finalist.
You going to add anything, young Mel?
I can add a leaf. I think the lack of human element and the addition, or not that it was already there. The leaf just shows that nature is coming back in instead of into a human environment. And I think I was pretty harsh in my score, so I'll definitely be coming up because you've presented an argument really well.
Matt, you don't need them. Yep, you need them to write a reply.
The lack of human element is what makes this image, because at the time there were no humans around to be the shadow in this. So the photographer has used the shadows that are available to them to convey and tell the story.
Thank you. All righty. Thank you, judges. Always wonderful conversation. If we could rescore. And Matt, you're on 91, so you stay there. Okay, so, well, I'll do that in a minute. We've got a roll of drums happening up here. We've got a very happy entrant who is now a finalist with a score of 90 exactly. Well done. For the 25,000 people out there in the audience, the Saturday after party is on at the brewery. Includes lots of food and 2 welcome drinks. It says 12 are available. Now, I don't know whether that means there are 12 welcome drinks available to the next lot of people, or there are 12 tickets available. And the Sunday night gala at the Village Cinema includes food, drink and app results on the big screen, and there are 7 tickets available there. So go online to australianphotographicprize.com.au. Next print, please.
The description reads, "End of life, 1 visitor per day, 1 hour at a time, social distancing protocols in place, and 1 final farewell."
Oh, a very disappointing score, only 89. So we have I will definitely challenge it, but if not, we're going to go and talk about it, aren't we? It needs to be talked about. We've got a 94, a 95, 87, 84, 83, so a very highly scored picture. I'm going to say up front that I would have loved this to have just been that much bigger, because there are some delightful images in there, and maybe you've got a bunch of short-sighted judges who can't quite see. If you made it bigger, you might have been up there without this long conversation, and we could have given you a higher reward sooner. So what are we going to do? Do we need to talk a little bit about it? Everybody's looking at this and just going, wow. Matt?
It's hit 2 of us, as Emily says, straight in the feels. There's tears in the room at the moment. This is delicate. It's eloquent. It's just so beautifully treated in every image that has been delivered to us. It does need to be bigger. It needs to highlight all of those things. There's nothing that has been everything that needs to be in each frame has been included with choice. Well done to the photographer.
Yeah. No, I see sometimes you get the multiple images and they're down small and they're hiding the fact that there's something missing. But as you said, each one of these images is beautifully put together. Who else? Mel, did you want to have a chat?
I've calmed down a bit now. I'm just going to read from the thing here. Exceptional visual and emotional impact. And this says it all, though the way that the images are laid out, the story that we're taking on, this is the last 2 years for so many people, and it's just captured perfectly.
Bill?
The emotion is unquestionable. It's fine. I would have given it 5 more points automatically if it had been sensibly presented. I mean, like you, it's almost impossible to read this. It's a wonderful story. Every single image is strong. For goodness sake, show it to us in a way that we can appreciate it much more.
Be proud of your work, yeah. Okay, if you'd all like to rescore, I challenged you can all rescore.
What's it currently scoring?
Sorry?
What's the current score?
It's 89 at the moment. Okay, so we have a finalist with a score of 92. Well done. Next print, please. Sorry, yep. We're putting this next print up. It's
So judges, this one was judged without its caption. The caption wasn't in the system for some reason, so the entrance was just after you look at this again with fresh eyes, and we'll read the caption if you could restore it.
Yep.
Peter, do you want me to read what you've got, or we just freshly?
No, we'll start from scratch.
Okay, so the caption for this one reads, "Bushfire burning insidiously towards our farm. The Forgotten Fires, Tonnenbuch, March 2019."
Sorry, we're scoring manually. If you could let Mel know politely what the score is.
So is this, what's happening?
Just doing it manually to enter into the system, because we've already scored. You might not have, but it has been judged before. So for those out there, I actually remember making a comment that not knowing the caption at the time would have been useful. So I'm glad we're having a second opportunity. Makes the greens a little bit more, but when I hear it's from a farm, the fire's approaching the farm, and the greens there, although that might not, it's not the sort of the green of the fields which the cows are munching on, but it does talk about the farm and the impact. And yeah, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, well, we're glad we did. We have a semi-finalist with a score of 81. Thank you. Next print, please. Or are we doing... We're doing reviews. Okay. We only got one review. And what are we reviewing from where to where? So 79. So this is a commended image. And we can just go thumbs up or thumbs down. Oh, okay, if you like. Yeah, no, we've got them there. You've done well. Well done, Mel. Thank you. You're looking after me. Okay, so this is commended at the moment, or should it be commended, or does it go up to a semi-finalist? So it's a semi-finalist, goes up to a score of 80. Okie doke. I think that brings us to the end of the documentary category, proudly sponsored by Memento Pro. And I'm just looking around blithely, but I think from the point of view of Video Land, that's the end of the streaming. Thank you for your attendance. We will be judging the travel category next, but this particular stream is probably going to stop in a little while, and I'm going to stop talking as well. keep the judges that are on the panel.
Can we go down to the lounge? We invite you all? Okay.
That way I don't have to have special preferences. So those the 5 judges who were on here, if you could come with us downstairs to the executive suites where we will deliberate for the finals.
I'm judging next. Judging next. Okay. All right.
It's already happened. We had 7 years. We will get this on track. Go to the bathroom and all that jazz.
Resolver and a banker and a financial controller and
You got time to go toilet?
Tell me they haven't done a trip for
No,
travel yet. Are we very far away?
not far.
Cooking time.
Well, you know, I get some sugar.
Works half an hour.
That's right.
Somebody else did today. I didn't have else this morning, so I had a nice time.
Not long. You do. Oh, yeah.